right, we should be going.
Wait for it.
I hear the wind. The wind's picking up.
All right, looks like we're streaming.
Yep. I knew Mushmouth would be here early. He's been wanting us to talk about this for a while.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Tyler in the chat room. What's up,
Yeah.
Tyler?
The fact checker to the fact checker.
Oh, speaking of which, I need to let everybody know we're here.
We are here.
We're here. All right. Yeah, he says tornado watch until 9 o'clock. What's up, Mushmouth? There he is. Yeah, hopefully no tornadoes while we're doing the show, hopefully.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
That wouldn't be fun.
He says, can you push till 6:30? I'm going to go make a really long sandwich.
That's very descriptive.
I don't know why that was so funny.
A big old sandwich.
All right. Well, I think we're good to get this thing rolling. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean we're all here, so
we're here. Might as well.
We might as well do a podcast while we're here.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
And 3, 2, 1. Programs, and we're back. It's 2024. It's the second episode of 2024. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name is Derek Diamond.
And I did a little boo-boo last week, a little snafu with Amazon, if you might say. You know how my right Joy-Con's been out for a while? Mm-hmm. Well, I got a little extra Christmas money, and I went on Amazon to look up some right controllers, Joy-Cons. I found a pair of cheap controllers for $20. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and get these. They might be cheap. They're off-brand, but, you know, all I need is the right one. That's all I need is a working right Joy-Con. So I paid my $20. Got them on Prime. I ordered them, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. They were supposed to be here on Friday. And so I look in the mailbox on Friday. I'm all excited. I'm like, oh, yeah, there it is. The package is in the mail. Get it home, open it up, and I'm looking at my new controllers, and I'm like, these have no innards. I bought covers for my Joy-Cons for $20.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
I didn't read close enough in the description, so... And of course, my printer is not working right now, so I had to get Amazon to send me a shipping label so I can send them back as soon as I get that.
That's rough. That's got to be so demoralizing when you're just like, I could see you just looking up at the sky going, no.
I was so excited. It was Friday. I was like, man, I'm going to get to play my Switch tonight. And I opened up the package just immediately, just like my heart sank. I was like, oh, man.
Got to wait just a little bit longer, I guess.
So I wonder how many other people have bought those thinking, because the picture is of actual, like, working Joy-Cons.
Yeah, they can be a little misleading with
Very much.
Not just the photos, but sometimes with the descriptions too.
So that's what I did last week. How was your week?
Not too bad. Just kind of getting back in the swing of things as far as, work and normal routines go. Almost fully recovered from the flu, I think.
Nice.
Still got a little bit of the chest congestion, but other than that, not as easily tired as I have been like the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That and just been playing what we're going to review tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Been playing some Harvest Moon. And also I did get the new Sonic game for Christmas, Sonic Superstars. So I've been playing that a little bit. So that's
nice.
been fun. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's like the new Super Mario Brothers treatment for Sonic,
Yeah.
but it's pretty good.
And Joey in the chat room says he bought one for his Amazon Fire Stick remote, thought it was a cool blue remote, and it was a cover. See, why do they do that kind of stuff? And yeah, I know, Mushmouth, I should have read that fine print. But the thing was, is I was on my phone, and usually when I order stuff on Amazon, I do it from the computer. So I saw the Joy-Cons. I was like, these look cool. You know, they were like the 90s purple, like see-through controllers. I'm like, oh, those are kind of cool. I'll get those. And it just the covers. Like I have to actually physically take the innards out of my current Joy-Cons to put inside of these Joy-Cons. I'm like, I'm not. What? No. So I immediately was just like, I want a refund.
That tricky Amazon.
Yeah. I'm that lesson learned. Read the fine print on anything you buy.
But I will say, to be fair, you shouldn't have to read like an overly long
For
description.
real. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It should be right there on top. A big asterisk. These are not functioning controllers. They are controller covers.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
another thing I've been doing this week is on Game Pass. I've been playing this game called Sea of Stars. Have you heard of this game yet? I think you can get it on the Switch.
You guys were talking about it in the Discord, but no, I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, it's very much in the vein of you can tell the people that made the game are huge fans of like Chrono Trigger in games like that, and it's very much in that vein. And I'm having a blast playing that game.
Okay, I don't know if it's on the Switch or not. I'll have to look and see.
Depending on how long it is, I may do a review of it. I know Wally gets on me for reviewing non-retro stuff, but this is a modern quote retro game, so I think it qualifies.
I mean, I'm reviewing a remake of a retro game next week, so if he's gonna throw you under the bus, I'm just as guilty.
But yeah, if you haven't tried it yet, everybody out there, just go give it a look. I was just scrolling through Game Pass the other night. I came across it, watched the trailer, and I was like, "This is pretty cool." So I downloaded it, and I've been playing it for about 4 or 5 days now, and I'm about 6 or 7 hours into it, and I'm hooked. It's really cool.
Nice. I
But
look forward to playing it.
that's anything else you want to throw in before we go into the news for this evening?
I don't think so.
Well, let's do it. Some of tonight's news stories were provided to us by Mr. Armez Jackson. If you have a news story you'd like to send to us, send them to nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. And this first story comes to us from, this was on npr.org, but this is all over the internet right now. 13-year-old Oklahoma a 13-year-old in Oklahoma may have just become the first person to ever beat Tetris. 34 years after it was released, 13-year-old Willis Gibson of Oklahoma ended up advancing so far that the game itself could not keep up with him. At level 157, he reached the notorious kill screen, the point in the game where it becomes unplayable because of limitation with the game's original programming. It took him less than 39 minutes. What happens is you get so far that the programmers that made the game, they never expected you to make it that far, and so the game starts breaking down, and eventually it just stops. So this kid was amazing. Did you watch the videos, any of the videos about this kid?
Yeah, it's unreal. I'm convinced this kid is an android.
Yeah, did you see how those Tetris speedrunners use the controller? Like, I thought that, the Ninja Gaiden, they call it slash canceling. I thought those guys were crazy, but this is insane. The way they hold the controller and they're like using the D-pad and they're like flicking their fingers on the back of the controller. It's so weird looking.
This actually inspired I'll post it on our Twitter, but it's a shot from The Wizard when Jimmy's playing Double Dragon. And it says, yeah, 13-year-old beat Tetris, but did he get 50,000 on Double Dragon?
Yeah, I sent that to you guys the other day. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, I saw a video also on YouTube the other day about what happens to the game that far into it. And it was a really cool Let me look. Well, I'll make a post of it on my Twitter or something, or in the Discord. I've watched some pretty cool videos over the last few days about what happens to the game once you get that far into it, and about how the game starts to pull information from the code starts to pull from the RAM, and it doesn't understand what it's doing, and it just completely breaks the game at that point. And it's crazy to know that a human, like, how did he see those pieces falling that fast was just beyond me.
Hand-eye coordination is off the charts. Like it's, I've watched some cool speed running, but this ranks up there with just like the craziest video game material I've seen.
This kid needs to be like a neurosurgeon or something like that. I mean, just
Yes.
he needs to do something crazy with his life like that to have that amount of just pinpoint, like be able to like just focus like that.
The story should read that he didn't beat Tetris, he broke it.
Yeah,
He literally broke
he
Tetris.
broke the game.
Yeah.
They never expected it. I mean, think about it. That game is now 30 years old. He's the first person to ever do this, and it's the most. What is it? That game has sold the most copies of any game ever made. It's something like 500 million copies of that game are out in the world. You can get it everywhere. You can play Tetris on any workable device in the world. Like, it's just it's the most prevalent video game probably ever. And he broke it.
Shout out to Willis Gibson
Yeah.
for doing what no one else has been able to do.
If anybody knows him, he wants to come on the show, we happy to interview him on here.
Oh, for sure. Next up was from mynintendonews.com. Mother account says plans are being made for Mother 2 30th anniversary. It's hard to believe, but this year marks the Mother 2, aka Earthbound's 30th anniversary, so of course there's a reason to celebrate. The official account for the series says that they are busy preparing various plans for the year ahead, which should spark fans' interest. They wouldn't divulge all the details, so we'll have to wait and see what transpires. The translation of their post on Twitter/X said, "Happy New Year. The year 2024 marks the 30th anniversary of the release of Mother 2. We are preparing various plans for the year ahead. Let's enjoy the year together."
What would you do if Nintendo just came out and was like, a remake of Earthbound, available now?
I would say one of my predictions for the year came true.
Yeah.
Because I did say that, with the popularity of the Mario RPG remake and the positive feedback it's gotten, that Nintendo should look into doing that more with some of their 90s RPGs. And I think Earthbound, it makes too much sense anyway because it has such a big following.
Mm.
But with it being the 30th anniversary, it makes too much sense to do it.
And Tyler in the chat room says, and still no Mother 3 official release for the U.S. You never know. I mean, it might happen.
I'm just hoping that one of these days they're going to do a direct and they're going to make an announcement saying Mother 3 is available now.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those, like, right now you can go on the Switch and play it. Like, that would be so cool. Because I've wanted to play that game for forever, but it's just never been available in the States.
And I know when it's going to drop because I'll be able to hear you screaming from 2 states away.
Or Tyler from a little bit closer by.
I'll hear dual screaming like, they must have dropped the Earthbound remake. This is from synthanatomy.com. This is a really cool story I saw the other day. Sonicware Liven Mega Synthesis portable synth revives the Sega Genesis sound. God, they could have named this thing a little better. Sonicware Liven Mega Synthesis revives the gaming console sound engine in a new portable synthesizer groove box. With the Liven series, the young Japanese company Sonicware offers a wide range of exciting portable budget-oriented synthesizers and samplers. The hardware features MIDI, USB, form, etc. Are all the same, but each instrument has its own custom engine. Let's see. It is new portable groove box, compromises 3 FM synthesis tracks, 2 PSG synthesis tracks, and a PCM sample track. And then it goes under all the specs on here, which I'm pretty sure that our good friend, oh God, why am I blanking on his name? He's got his own retro channel, synthwave.
Oh, Nate.
Does the synthwave channel? Not Nate. God damn it! My brain not working tonight.
I mean, either I'm sure you'll remember it at some point, but
Jeremy.
Oh yeah, Jeremy Branch.
Yeah, Jeremy Branch.
Yeah.
He's got that synthwave channel. He probably knows what all
Lucid
these
Memory.
specs. Yeah, Lucid Memory. That's it. He probably knows what all these specs are, because this is just all garbledy-gook to me.
Yeah, this is all like I'm like Vinkman and Ghostbusters. I don't understand a word that anyone's saying.
But anyway, if you want to get one of these, it retails for $239. So if you're into synthwave and doing, would like to bring back some of the Sega Genesis Mega Drive sounds, this might be something you want to pick up.
Or you can just try to say Sonicware Mega Synthesis 10 times fast.
Yeah. What do they call this thing again? The Sonicware Live and Mega Synthesis.
Or as I call it, the...
Yeah, the thing.
Yeah, the thing.
Yeah, I'm sure Mushmouth in the chat room, he said he wouldn't mind playing around with it. I know this would be right up your alley, too.
And Chuck says the Sonic Symphony World Tour starts in 12 days, which is true, yeah.
Wonder if it's coming anywhere close around here.
I don't know, I have to look at the dates.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to it.
Me too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I've watched it on YouTube, and it's really, really cool, because they recorded like a legit version of the Sonic Symphony, complete with spliced in vocal performances from some of the bands that have done music for Sonic throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mixed with the orchestra.
That's so cool.
And it's really, really cool. But our last story comes to us from IGN. Nintendo Switch 2 predicted to arrive in 2024, possibly at $400. This was reported in IGN's Daily Fix. All signs are pointing to a proper Nintendo Switch follow-up in 2024, and according to industry analysts, it'll be priced at $400 or less. Of course, there's no official word from Nintendo, but let's hope they make some kind of announcement soon. So let's see, Sony also made... that's about the Silent Hill 2 remake, etc., etc. I mean, we've talked about it. You've been saying it. Nintendo Switch 2 in 2024.
It's coming this year, and at a $400 price point. That, I mean, depending on what's under the hood, I might be an early adopter, because I love the Switch.
I hope they announce it on the anniversary of when the Switch was released.
Yeah, because if they do release it, I have a feeling it's going to be a holiday release.
Oh, 100%. No, I could see like maybe an early November, because I know they did that with the GameCube when it came out back in 01. It came out like November 5th or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Or they could do maybe an early December.
And Tyler in the chat room says, we don't get anything like that near here, not even NOLA. Sometimes we do. I did go see the London Symphony Orchestra when they were doing the Star Wars thing.
Oh, that's sick.
I saw that at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans when it came through, and that was life-altering. It was so awesome.
Oh, I bet. I would have loved to have seen that.
Because they had Anthony Daniels there, and he was kind of the MC for the night, and then they had the London Symphony Orchestra, and they had the huge screens behind, big, curved screen behind them, playing all the scenes from the movie. And like, I literally cried like 3 or 4 times during the whole thing. I was just overwhelmed with emotion.
I love stuff like that, because that's what they do with the Sonic Symphony. They did it with the Zelda Symphony.
Yeah,
when they were doing the 25-year anniversary celebration. It's such a cool idea, and there's just something about hearing like those tracks
Yep.
with a live orchestra in the room.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's so cool.
and before we go into this month in video game history, I want to tell everybody that we are proudly sponsored by our mobile game partner, Globe Glider. And if you like action adventure platformers, Globe Glider is for you. Making a donation to the game using our partnership is quick and easy. Just simply hit the donate button and select Nerd Cave Retro as your referral partner to unlock sweet in-game prizes like an exclusive Nerd Cave Retro cape. So download Globe Glider now on the App Store or Google Play. And now it is time for this month in video game history. On January 24th of 1984, Apple Inc. announces the original 128K floppy disk only Macintosh 128K.
Look at that fine piece of machinery.
Dude, I would love to have one of those.
Dude, look at the mouse.
Yeah.
It just looks like a square.
We had these in my elementary school when I was a kid. This
Yep,
just brings back like instant nostalgia.
Yeah, no, we had something similar to this when I was a kid too.
I think we had the Apple IIs is what we had.
Oh, okay. But I remember before like CDs and eventually thumb drives became a thing. My mom used to have this plastic bin full of floppy disks.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all like the different colors, like they had like red, green, blue, and it was like the see-through kind, so you could actually see the inside of the floppy disk, and you're like, how does this thing even function?
Yeah. Yeah, that brings back memories too. Remember the 3.5-inch floppy, like the containers that you could get? My mom had like 2 or 3 of those, and I just had them loaded up with like could just like in my mind sit there and look through all the floppies and see like Doom, and stuff like that in there. And
you could save maybe 1 or 2 pictures.
Yeah,
on a floppy disk.
Not even one whole picture.
Yeah. January 14th of 1987, Nintendo releases one of the favorite games here on the podcast, Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link for the Famicom Disk System in Japan. The game would go unreleased in America for nearly 2 years afterwards.
Should have went unreleased in America for decades.
I wonder why they waited so long.
Because they knew it sucked.
And they were like, you know what? We can't put this off any longer. We'll let those people out west feel our pain.
Ugh, hate that game so much. January 31st of 1992, Konami releases Bucky O'Hare for the NES in Japan. Love that game.
Shout out to Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah.
And finally, January 21st of 1999, HAL Laboratory and Nintendo release Super Smash Brothers for the N64 in Japan, which launched one of the best multiplayer series of all time.
I still remember that commercial for the Super
happy
Smash Brothers.
Together.
Beating the crap out of one another. That was some of the best advertising Nintendo ever did.
I remember I didn't know that game was a thing until I saw that commercial. And when I saw because they spliced in gameplay like in between the fighting, and my mind was just blown. Because, like all of us who grew up with Nintendo, we've always thought, well, what would happen if Mario and Link were in the same game together? Or what if Metroid and Star Fox were in the same game? Which that would make for a good crossover, like a legit crossover, Metroid and Star Fox.
Oh, yeah.
And it answered those questions, and it's still going on to this day.
Mm-hmm. It was a good idea. Make a fighting game, Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
But before we go into the review tonight, Derek, would you like to do our Patreon shout-outs?
Absolutely. As always, we'd like to shout out our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. We want to shout out Yup Fed, a.k.a. Knife, James, a.k.a. @Jimbo Jr. on our Discord, Travis Martin, Raven, Danny House, Justin Nispel, John West, Daniel Salmon, Mr. B-Res Coffee himself, Mike Eveland, Tyler Watson, AxeBlade07, Armiz Jackson, Carlos Longoria, aka I am the
Rampage.
Rampage, Staff Sergeant Sketch, Gus and Penny, Matthew Salmon, Mr. Joey Image, and of course, last but not least, Mama Diamond herself, Donna Diamond. Thank you all so much for your continued contributions and keeping the lights on for us here at the Nerd Cave Retro Podcast. For as little as $1 a month, you get early access to our amazing commentary tracks. And we also proved that we will do just about anything for our Patreon subscribers because we are still reeling from the Star Wars Holiday Special.
It's just still taking me a while to get over that. Like it's so terrible. Like it's so bad.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, as a filmmaker, it makes me feel better because that got made. And I'm like, you know what? This gives me hope. No pun intended.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's also like they wasted money on that. Like what in the world that could have been done that was good didn't get made because that was made?
So I love Uncle George. He gave us Star Wars, and I think he's one of the best storytellers of our generation. However, you do got to keep him on a leash a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was an instance where he broke off the leash.
See, what happens when you put him on the leash? You get Empire Strikes Back. When you take him off the leash, you get Ewoks. So do the math.
That makes me think of that Clerks quote. All Jedi had was a bunch of Muppets. But we've also done, you know, much better commentary tracks too, like Batman 89, Christmas Vacation, Clue, Transformers the movie, even bad movies like Double Dragon and Super Mario Brothers. Those are fun commentary tracks.
I thought Double Dragon was the worst thing we'd ever done until the Star Wars Holiday Special. And now I'm pretty sure Double Dragon is the Godfather compared to the Holiday Special.
Yeah. I was gonna say if we did Mortal Kombat Annihilation, that would be possibly the worst thing we've ever done, but it's not as bad as the Holiday Special.
No, nothing so far has been as bad as the Holiday Special.
No. So if you want to be a part of our awesome Patreon community, just head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. And for new patrons, be sure to send us your social media information, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, so we can give you a proper shout out.
And tonight we're going to be talking about Rocket Knight Adventures is a platform game developed and published by Konami for the Sega Genesis. The game involves Sparkster, an opossum knight who wields a rocket pack and a sword that can emit energy projectiles as he attempts to stop the Devotindos. Is that how you say that? Devotindos?
Sure.
Empire. An evil empire that attempts to break the seal of a powerful starship. It was designed by Nobuya Nakazato, designer of such Contra games as the Alien Wars, Hardcore, and Shattered Soldier, and it was released in Japan and North America in August of '93 and Europe in September. Upon release, the game received positive reviews. So I knew we were going to do this game for a while, or I know that our good friend Mushmouth mentioned it a few months back, and we threw it in the we should review list. And I got a ROM of it a couple of weeks ago and finally played it about a week and a half ago and played it for about 2 or 3 hours. And that was when I texted you. I was like, yep, we got to review this game.
So then I got a ROM of it, and I've been playing it, you know, throughout the week. And I didn't really know what to expect from the game because I didn't watch any gameplay of it. I'd seen a couple of screenshots. So I knew I would at least like it because I put this in my notes. the look reminds me of the Magical Quest
Hmm.
starring Mickey Mouse, which I reviewed, a while back on the podcast. It looks like peak 90s 16-bit platforming.
Yeah.
It's everything like the graphics are smooth. It's got that nice style of animation that is 90s, but also still holds up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's stylized enough that you could even put this game out now and it would still look fresh and new because it does sort of have. I mean, it looks like you're playing a cartoon. Like it's such a beautiful game, and I love the aesthetic of the game. I love the colors, the way the character moves, Sparkster. I love the way he moves and just the character animations and the gameplay is just so smooth on the game. Like that was one thing I was just like when I played it takes. I had never played this game before either, and I didn't know what to expect. And it's not your typical run and gun type of platformer. There's a lot of things in the game as far as with the use of the rocket pack and things like that uh, to get over obstacles and things like that and reach certain places. Like it was kind of it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, and that was something that really jumped out at me whenever I started playing it. Is that in the first level that you're in or first stage, there's a column that you have to jump over, but you can't jump that high.
Hmm.
And I was trying to figure out what to
Yeah,
do, and then I'm
me
like,
too.
oh, wait a minute, I have the rocket.
Hmm.
And then I had to figure out exactly because there's a little bit of, I won't say a learning curve, but you gotta play around with the rocket a little bit to really
Yeah,
kind of get a grasp on how to move, and like where and how to push, the right buttons
yeah,
in order to, because otherwise you might just, shoot yourself across the screen and not be able to move or go straight up, which I did that a couple of
yeah.
times. But it really does add a cool dynamic to it. At times I felt like it made me a little too powerful, but the game is challenging enough that I think it warrants that.
But that's the thing is like you feel overpowered at times, but then there are times where you're just like, am I doing any damage at all to like some of the bosses that you come across? I'm just like, am I doing any damage whatsoever? And then all of a sudden the boss is dead. And you're just like, oh, well, all right. I guess I was hitting him.
Well, see, like I felt like your normal run of the mill enemies were fairly easy to beat once I figured out the rocket.
Yeah.
But you're right, whenever you get to the boss fights, you got to be a little more strategic and cerebral.
Hmm. That's another thing. Like I didn't finish the game because God, this game is long.
Yeah, it is.
And I got, I think, to level 3 or 4. Got through several mini bosses, several bosses. I got past the crab, the boss with the mechanical crab on the underwater stage. That was as far as I could get. And then I was just like, I'm just gonna watch a speed run of this game so I could see the rest of the game. And there was one speed run that I watched. It was from a speed running thing they did in Las Vegas a couple of months ago. And this guy was explaining everything he was doing while he was speed running the game. And there was so much going through that goes into beating this game because like I said, it's not just your typical run and jump platformer. There's a lot of strategy involved with this game. Like it takes a lot of patience and kind of knowing like your boss battles are, there's phases to the boss battles. It's not just hit the boss and cheese the boss. It's like you got to actually kind of know what you're doing during these boss battles.
You'll get a kick out of this. So I put this in my notes. The same train fight that you put in your notes that I guess we could go ahead and get to.
Yeah.
It reminded me of, the scene in the first Sonic movie whenever Sonic and Tom are on the highway and
Yeah.
they destroy Robotnik's giant tank.
Yeah.
And then the other, like a smaller robot pops out of it.
Yeah.
And then they destroy that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I felt like. I'm like, this thing will not
Yeah.
stop.
Like that whole like that was actually my favorite part of the game so far was that because you're on a not a train car but a mine
Like a
cart.
mine cart.
It's like a mine cart level, and that's the cool thing about this game is it's got pretty much everything you've ever played, but does it in a cool way. Like it's not as frustrating as the mine cart in like Donkey Kong Country or anything. Like this is just like the only way you're going to fall off is if you do something stupid or not know the patterns of what's coming or when to jump and things like that. But when you get to the boss, like you're trying to fight this runaway train on the tracks, and you're on a different track than it is, but it's got these arms that are swinging at you, and then it's an insane amount of stuff that's happening on the screen. And you're just like, am I doing any damage to this thing? And then eventually it dies, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I passed this part. But it's almost like sensory overload a little bit.
One also leading up to the boss fight, whenever you have to kill all the enemies that are in the individual carts and then
Yeah.
hop from cart to cart to cart
Mhm.
to cart.
It's
So
insane.
it's a lot.
But it's cool though. I mean, it's a really fun game to play. And I wrote on here the music's great. Like some of the best music I've heard from the Sega Genesis. Which don't get me wrong, the Genesis sound chip is okay, but that was always kind of the thing was the Super Nintendo had a much better sound chip than the Genesis did. The Genesis is always the music was always a little bit tinny to me, but this music it wasn't quite as jarring as most Genesis music is. But it sounded really good. Like there's some really good music. Like I would sit and listen to the soundtrack of this game just to listen to it.
Yeah, I put in my notes that the music could never end, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
complain. Like I love video game music from this era. And to be honest, like outside the Sonic games, I haven't heard any Genesis tracks that are really that good or memorable. But yeah, the music from top to bottom in this game was really good. It didn't sound like tinny.
Mm.
It sounded really good.
Yeah, and all the sound effects were really cool in this game. And we didn't really talk about the plot of the game, and it's kind of a lot going on in this game. The first king of Zephyrus had led his oh my god, there's just so much. Basically, it's a save the princess type of game.
Yeah.
And your name is Sparkster, and you're a knight, and you have a rocket pack on your back, and you're a possum. So go. I mean, it's convoluted, but it's basically the same thing as Mario. It's just like save the princess. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, story wise, it's just very straightforward. But this is one of those that, this is about the gameplay.
Mhm.
This is about just being in a fun world. And something else I wanted to throw in there too about the aesthetic of the game. I really like the backgrounds.
Yes.
Because in the first level, you see like the castle in the background that's under attack. You've got the mountains and the clouds, and you didn't see that a whole lot
Mhm.
really until like later in the stage of the Super Nintendo or the Genesis, I feel like. So there's some real detail in this game.
And I was losing a lot of lives just because I was paying more attention to the background than what was going on. That's why I liked watching the videos of this game because I could actually pause and like look at some of the detail in the backgrounds.
Yeah, so the designers of this game, you could tell they took 0 days off
Yeah.
when they didn't, to put it bluntly, they didn't half-ass anything when it came to this.
And I love that they pretty much took every genre of game that you could of platform style game that you could put in here. Like we talked about the mine cart level. There's levels where you're trying to avoid lava on the floor, and you have to the lava keeps coming up and down. And that one level took me forever to figure out that you have to wait for the lava to come up because you'll see platforms hidden behind some stalactites that you have to jump to. And I was like, oh, I know what's going on here. And then they got levels that are like a side scrolling shooter, like Gradius or R Type, like that type of stuff going on. There's like so much going on in this game.
I think it was the second stage. You get to a point where like the whole screen is flashing red, and you have this beam of fire that shoots out at you like from random spots on the map. So
Hmm.
you gotta be really leery of
Yeah.
that. So it's just I like the variety in the game. It's you harken it back to like the Super Mario Brothers, like old school platforming games. You had your underwater stages, you had your caves, you had your normal overworld, you had your castle. You had enough of a variety where you felt like you weren't playing a carbon copy.
Hmm.
And that's how I felt playing this.
And another thing about this game, and I would have never known about this unless I watched the speed run videos, but there's a lot of strategy in this game as far as going into the boss fights where you have you have a health bar, like a pretty healthy health bar, and you can take a lot of hits before you die. But this game is a lot like the original Ninja Turtles, where the more closer to death they got, the stronger they got. So a lot of speedrunners will get their turtles down to like a couple of hit points and they hit like really hard. This game is that same way. If you let your health bar go down to certain points, you hit way harder than you would if you go into the boss fight with like a full health bar.
Yeah, I read about that and I was like, you know what? I'm not brave
Yeah.
enough to try that. Um, if I were more familiar with the game, then
Hmm.
I might be willing to do it. But
Yeah.
I understand the strategy though.
But just some of the cool stuff too. Like there was a level you go through where there's you're traveling on vines, platforming on vines through the level, and then there are spots where you got to go behind the waterfall because the vines are behind the waterfall, and you fight the boss that way too because there's these platforms that are going front and back beneath the waterfall, and I thought that was really inventive at the time.
That was my favorite boss fight that I played when you fight that like giant mechanical
Hmm.
worm type thing
Yeah.
and it goes behind the waterfall. So then you have to go behind it in order to deal damage to it.
Hmm.
And you kind of flip back and forth. I thought that was really innovative. And, I mentioned Sonic Superstars earlier. It does something similar where you like go into the background because it's a 2D game. It plays just like the old school Sonics, but there are certain spots where you go into the background
Hmm.
of the stage and you have to, collect rings or do a certain objective, and then you come back into the foreground. So to see that this was done, back then was is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's almost like they took everything that they thought was cool about other games and they're like, let's put that in here too somewhere.
And at the end of